Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast here from American Real Estate Group. Just wanted to touch on some things that we may not have touched in the past, and that is the planning and design phase within commercial real estate. I think this is one topic that I don't really go too much into detail, so kind of put a nice video together today, just talking through the necessary phases that any developer or investor should be mindful about. So why don't we hop into it? So me personally, I'm more of an acquisitions underwriter, financial modeler. So I don't really dig too much in the realm of the architect and interior design phase. But it's still good to know about it because as the developer, you're still coordinating these meetings for an upcoming project, right? So yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch on this. Also, informing you about some influences or other people that have kind of helped me gain some basic knowledge into architecture and the engineering world as well. So we'll be touching on some of those topics as well. So yeah, let me hop right into this. So I'm just going to share this quick, it's kind of a quick Google Doc that I did. So it's essentially just walking through the entire building design plan for maintaining like these relationships, like with your architect, with your engineer. So within architects, like you have many different roles, right, within architecture. So it's good to learn about like their company, their team, how many members and what their roles and responsibilities are, so that you kind of have like a heads up about like upcoming meetings that you may need to attend, right? One of the ways that I kind of got into architecture in the first place was through the AIA, which is the American Institute of Architecture. They have one pretty much in each like major city. So they have one here in Philadelphia. So kind of like attending a few meetings here and there, learning what like kind of the historic value of like buildings, especially in Philadelphia, being like one of the major cities for historic value. That was really eye-opening to me. So huge recommend if you're wanting to get into that world. I would start with a great company like AIA. So one of the things that I touched on in my due diligence checklist, as any asset manager or acquisitions coordinator should be aware of, would be these few phases. So the legal, entitlement, and insurance phase, the construction documentation phase, the planning and design phase with the architects, and the engineering phase as well. So this was kind of put together roughly. I just researched like a few YouTube videos, kind of watching some great architects who have a lot of experience. And so one of those was shout out to Dami Lee. She's from Vancouver. And she's an architect that's has a really good team and a good vision on how the process should be. And then also from our end, we kind of coordinated with a few interior designers from our team. And we had like a nice organization plan that we went through as well. So I kind of like merged some of those ideas together and just knowing what to be mindful about when going into any project, right? So these like 3 or 4 phases, which I mentioned at the top here, and I say here, refer to that checklist. It's spelled out in that checklist, but basically like the first phase is like the entitlement phase and like that initial site plan. So it'd be wise to contact like a site engineer, someone who has experience in doing site surveying and initial like plan design, right, for the lot that is of subject, right? So that would be really important. And one second, I'm actually just gonna find like a quick example that we have. of an actual site survey and like a grading survey that we did for one of our projects. Yeah, here we go. So I'm gonna just block out like the address and stuff, but yeah, let me share this with you guys. So here you go. So this is just like a rough grading survey for like a single family development. So these would be like estate size homes. So basically it just walks through just like what the initial design like would be if like things would be constructed. And the grading is obviously like you need to have like all the utility lines already installed underneath. And it needs to be basically like a paper lot, right? So it needs to be kind of developed and kind of ready to go for construction, right? So that's what this kind of a quick one-page layout kind of explains. So if we can zoom in here, yeah. So basically, trying to just avoid addresses, but basically like it has like the utility survey, right? So just going through like the storm sewer like tabulation here, pretty interesting stuff. And I'm not going to get too much into those things, but basically this is just like a quick overview of what a grading survey should look like, right? It has kind of dimension requirements, use and setbacks, coordination, and other things that are within that design plan, right? So for instance, here you have 3 estate size houses, you have a tennis court, you have a pond, conservation area here. So this kind of shows, and this is what you should actually meet with like your township with, and explain to them what type of project that you're actually taking on. So that's that. Just a quick overview of that. And so when you're doing that, pretty much you also need to consider the subdivision and rezoning analysis. So if you're planning to put more units in that area, then it needs to be subdivided to a higher density. And if you're just using it as it is, but you need to, let's say it's commercially zoned, but you need to have it residentially zoned. So then you need to talk with the zoning hearing board and see what they have to say about the project, right? So that's the rezoning phase. Then you should also probably, I wouldn't say construction here, but I would just say design, because construction happens later on. But just understanding like the initial design feasibility, I think that's one of the first things that you should consider before even doing like conceptual planning. Is seeing like, if I do develop some type of building here, would it be feasible? You have to understand like the uses of that building. So the type of that building, right? So typology is really important. And then also giving a quick survey of neighboring buildings too. So within like a half-mile radius, like what are the different buildings that are there, and what type of style or architecture mood do I want to present to the neighboring community, right? So that like kind of design feasibility should be considered like right off the bat. And then obviously you need to, if there are any permits that you need to obtain right off the bat, like any site or demolition permits, if there is an existing structure on the lot, you need to demolish it, then you need to get those permits first. And then these are the main agreements that any developer should be seeking for. So the development agreement from the city, any easement agreements, conditions, covenants, and restrictions. So what conditions, covenants, and restrictions are essentially like the rights that are private rights of that owner, right? So having the different rights that you've probably learned about, like if you have taken any brokerage class, these are like the rights that any owner should have. So that's like enjoyment, possession, there's probably a lot more, but those are two that just come to mind for me. So use and enjoyment and possession, and air rights as well. So if it is like a higher rise building, you have higher elevation, then having like air rights, especially from like for instance, like if there is an airport nearby, then that could also be like a risk to consider. So air rights there. So these, I would say, are the main ones that you need to attain from the city within any project. So yeah. And then obviously architecture as a whole kind of has a lot of mathematics involved with it. So I would also kind of brush up on basic mathematics just so that you're aware of this. And also, like when you're doing underwriting, some of these like property descriptions, lot descriptions, some of these things kind of are already there. So like for instance, floor space ratio or floor area ratio, some people call it that. That's essentially what is the lot dimensions that I have, and then how much building am I putting on that, right? So usually developers want to maximize the floor area ratio because you're trying to put like the most amount of units and drive profitability and a better overall return for that project. But that's floor area ratio if you weren't aware of that. So yeah, sorry if I'm feeling kind of a little bit under the weather. Been battling a cold, but just gonna try and fight through it. But here we go. So architecture and engineering design plan. So first, right off the bat, I think it's really important to just define what the project goals are. So if it's sustainability, if you're going for like a net zero building, you're trying to be as environmentally friendly as possible, then that should be conveyed off the bat, because then that puts the mindset of the architects in a different realm, right? If it's profitability, you're maximizing unit counts, then you're really focused on the area that you have and trying to put the most feasible amount of units in that area, right? So yeah, and then schematic design is one of the first phases within architecture. So concept research and development. And this is very, I would say, kind of an entrepreneurial kind of aspect of architecture, is that you can really get creative with the different designs and concepts that are out there. So many different types of buildings. I mean, just look at like Singapore, for instance. It has one of the most like beautifully like developed and out of the box kind of designs. So for instance, if I can just excuse me. It's probably one of the most like unique places to visit. If you do get a chance, it's absolutely outstanding. But it's really just like mind-boggling how some of the architects kind of come up with designs like this. And I know that airport in Singapore, I went when I was like 4 or 5 years old, but it has pretty much like a center courtyard where there's a huge waterfall that just like flows straight through, and it's one of the most beautiful things ever. See, this is kind of an interesting concept. So you're stacking building blocks like this, one on top of the other, and how you implement that, how you even consider like the elevators that are within that too, you know. It's really interesting. And I forget what the concept is called when you have like an overarching building that's like hanging on the arch of something. Excuse me. It's pretty cold out here in Philly, but okay, let's get back to the topics here. So we were in that schematic design phase right here. So the concept research and development. So basically, you're sourcing a lot of these different pictures or renderings or existing like architecture that has already been like developed, and seeing how you can kind of put your own style or flair into the project at hand, right? So this really digs back into the historic architecture. Excuse me. So this is really going back to the old ages, like how architecture has developed, the different exterior facade styles that are there, and then also interior design as well. So I would really say that interior design is really involved with each and every phase of this, and coordinating with each and every teammate is really important. So yeah, diagrams are just like rough sketches that you pretty much just draw right off the bat, and it's kind of on like this sketch paper or this like see-through paper that you can make different layers on and see what types of concepts that you can come up with. So that's diagrams. Next would be design development. So like I mentioned, area breakdown and floor plans. So defining the different units that you're trying to develop, and seeing if the floor area ratio is what you need it to be. Also, you should always have like multiple layouts. Sorry guys, I'm just losing it here with this cough. Yeah, multiple layouts, right? Give choices to the developer, I would say. So if something doesn't work out, or there's a style conflict, then there's always multiple layouts that you can refer back to. And then once like it's, I guess, approved from the developer, and you're starting to coordinate like with the MEPs and the structure engineers. So I don't want to get too much into the architecture process, because this is what architects do, like literally throughout any type of project. So they're well informed about this. But if you are kind of new to this, this is kind of like a beginner's guide to how to coordinate with them, I would say. So when it comes to that MEP and structure engineer phase, I would really think that it's a lot more to go through, and it's also coordinating and making sure that each teammate is pretty much informed about how the process is going, right? So FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipments. So this would also be displayed on like a larger report, kind of like a design layout report. So these pretty much, it's a lengthy kind of layout report, 50 to 100 pages, probably even more than that sometimes, depending on the complexity of the project. But it really goes through each and every phase. So yeah, and then construction documentation. So this is what is going to be ultimately sent to the general contractor and coordinated with them. So as an asset manager, one of the main things I would say is construction management, and keeping good contractor relations, and seeing like projects in and out, and like throughout like the entire construction process. So it's supervision, but it's also making sure that things are getting done at the right times, right? Because you're on a timeline, your contractor is probably on a timeline, he has other projects, and you want to make sure that things are being done in a timely manner. So MEP drawings and revisions are like the final step, I would say, and then it's sent to the contractor. So these drawings, I'll go through like the different roles that they play, but basically the last things would just be like elevation and renderings. Renderings are just like pictures of your project. So just like concept pictures about like the development is, I mean, it's already developed. There's like people inside, kind of so you see that a lot, right? Like actual live like content of like the entire project, right? So elevation, obviously, how many floors are you trying to get? And obviously, if it is a higher rise building, like maybe 10, 20 stories even sometimes. You're required to get air rights, and that's another thing that you have to talk with the township about and see what they have to say. But yeah, so bidding, quotes, and outside parties. So this is really important. Cost budgeting, in my opinion, is one of the key parts of any underwriting phase. So just understanding what your CapEx budget is and also your operational expense budget is, right? And then also considering the utility management as well. So utility expenses get really, really pricey. So this is where like it's really important to start coordinating with your MEP engineers and electrical engineers and seeing like what are like the best cost savings that I can get from the utilities involved, right? So yeah, and then I would also just say meeting with your accounting team and making sure that the necessary draw schedules are like scheduled for the contractor. So how I like to schedule it is they get paid on a completion basis, right? So upon inspecting the property or the project, how much that they have completed out of the necessary scope of work, that's how much percentage that they're getting paid that time period, right? So once they complete like all of the scope of work, then they would get paid the full contract amount that was specified, right? And obviously you have to coordinate like change orders or unforeseen material that need to be ordered or any type of special equipment that could cost more for the contractor. So just understanding like the best scenario for for both sides and then still achieving some type of cost savings, I would say is a win-win. So yeah. Okay. So and obviously you can track all of the subcontractors and vendors through your property management software. That's also really, really important. So yeah. And then this is the most important, I would say, right now. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to say all of this is important, really. You really need to know like all of these things, but just on a basic level so that you can talk about it and kind of seem sophisticated with like the engineers, the architects, so that they know that, hey, this guy is really interested. He wants to be more involved with the planning design phase and making sure that things are well coordinated, right? So that leaves a really good impression, I would say. So for the engineering team, you have three main guys. So you have your structure engineers. So these guys are more concerned with the structure, the strength of the property, right? So framing, minimum ceiling clearances, embedded items in the structure, fire ratings, material availability, addressing programmed areas. So oh my gosh, I'm dying. Oh my gosh. All right. So if there are like any programmed areas where it needs to I would also say coordinated with like the electrical engineers, then the structure engineers are also involved with that too. So that's that. So mechanical engineers, I would also say structure engineers are more focused on cost savings as well and sourcing the best material that can come at a reasonable price for both them and the developer. Mechanical engineers, so mainly like MEP stands for mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Mechanical engineers are more concerned with mechanical and plumbing. So that includes HVAC systems, major part of the building, right? So natural ventilation, heating, cooling plants, dimensions of the MEP equipment, HVAC systems, wall and roof construction. So if there are solar panels on the roofs, then they would also first off meet with an energy consultant and make sure that solar panels are well coordinated and where they're placed for the optimal energy saving. So they also probably do like a wind, air, sun, rain analysis too, and making sure that where the subject location is year round, what is that area kind of receiving in terms of weather, right? So yeah. And then glazing requirements for windows, doors, some like skylight windows, they also require like some type of glazing coat. So that's also coordinated. Room temperature, maintaining like the temperature gauge and making sure that that area is has a good has a good humidity level. So yeah, and then major ducts and pipes. These are pretty much like if like the ceiling is open, then it's really important to start to talk to the mechanical engineers and say, hey, what is the style of like the ducts and pipes? Because they're going to be exposed, right? So I want to make sure that from the interior design phase, like I want to make sure that they're actually has a good style and portrayal to them, right? So major ducts and pipes, plumbing fixtures and controls, waste, water and waste removal, noise control, energy management strategy, and overall just like energy cost saving analysis too. So that's kind of the mechanicals role. Now going into electrical engineers, so this is like more involved with the light fixtures and the actual lighting and of the process. So LED fixtures, seeing like where you can save the most money. Okay. So first off would be anticipated electrical loads. Now a lot of this I also do not know what this stuff is, right? I've just like sourced some of these different types from different sources. So I am also like really unaware. So I'm learning like with you guys on this. So I think it's important to bring these concepts up to like an electrician that you're coordinating with and seeing like where you can kind of clear some confusion, right? So anticipated electrical loads, right? Vault and substation space requirements, power distribution, electrical closets, communication rooms, bus duct risers, embedded circuits, light fixtures, selection, energy efficiency control, telecommunication and data systems. So if there is like a telecom or there needs to be some like major public service announcement that needs to be made on the telecom, then those kind of systems are implemented. Fire alarm systems, obviously, making sure that the entire building is fire rated and making sure that you also have those fire escape routes as well. So ingress egress is really key here. So two means of egress, kind of making sure that when a disaster happens, there's a way to get out as quickly as possible, right? So those are kind of studied and addressed by the electrical engineers and also structure engineers as well. So yeah, lastly, I would say once all of these meetings with the engineers, the architectures, any other outside consultants such as environmental or energy consultants, all of those meetings are done. Lastly would be the final township approval meetings, right? So this is where like the remaining permits are approved. One of the biggest ones is your building permit. Other ones would be signage and environmental permits. There's probably a lot more out there, but those are just some that come to mind. Any potential variances are discussed. So as it sounds, variance is a variability. Variance is a variable that you need to consider in your project, right? So basically like this is something that is let's say a use or setback you want to kind of increase your lot size, or you have some type of variance as far as air rights, or some type of variance, right? So those are obviously discussed at township meetings. And you can also bring these up during these final stages and make sure that things are approved. So just be prepared as well. I would say you're going to get a lot of questions from the panel and board of directors and board of supervisors, but making sure that you're well prepared, you know ins and outs of your project. You have your attorney on site, and your engineer or architect is also at the meeting as well, and coordinating any types of design documents that the township needs. That is all well situated, and they're well informed about what type of project that you're bringing to the community, right? So that was kind of just a rough building design plan, really. I think this should just be called building design plan for maintaining these relationships, right? So a lot of moving parts, a lot of different hats, but I think that if you have a good approach to this and you're proactive with these team members, I think it's a really fun and exciting process to go through. So yeah, just wanted to get that out there. Hopefully that was helpful. If you are interested in becoming like an architect or interior designer, I would highly recommend just either reaching out to the AIA. Again, that's American Institute of Architects, or just like researching local architects or engineers in your area, meeting with them. If you have like a upcoming project, you know, that's one of the necessary stages. So keeping a good network of those people are really valuable. So yeah, this is kind of a nice twist on the video. I didn't expect to make this, but it was one of the steps in the major steps in our due diligence checklist that really needs to be addressed. So sorry, I am going to drink a lot of water and take some medicine. Hopefully I feel better, but also gotta mask up as well, so not infecting anybody, you know. And hopefully everything goes fine. But yeah, so if you like this video, found it helpful, leave a thumbs up. Appreciate the support. If you also are in the area like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, I would love to meet, network. Maybe I can also have you guys on this podcast, or join your podcast if you have one. Would love to just start networking, meeting new people, more valuable connections in this industry. And yeah, look forward to it. So appreciate you guys listening. I'm gonna peace out right now. But look forward to some more, I would say, operational management and also acquisitions and market research videos in the near future. So gonna be making more of those. So appreciate it. All right, guys. Have a good week. Hopefully you guys stay bundled up. I know it's getting cold here. But yeah, so peace out.